All right. Good morning, Don. And good morning, everyone else, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be. We do appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in and join us for this 30 West IP webcast update. Today is March 28, 2023. Already March. Can't believe it's going this fast. But we do appreciate you guys joining us. And if you happen to be watching this at a later date, do keep in mind that the information on this presentation could have changed. So feel free to reach out to either Don or to us if you have questions later. Now, as with all of our webcasts that we do, we're going to ask that you guys take control of your audio. Make sure you check any audio connections you have or video connections on your end before you think we're having technical issues. And if you do have some technical issues, please try to maybe re-log in and see if that clarifies it before sending any help requests our way. So do keep in mind that I'll do my best to try to get you guys online, but I'm not a technical guru by any means. So I'll do what I can to help you guys out. Now, as far as any questions go, we ask that you refrain from sending us any chat messages or sending us the raise hand symbol because, well, there's only two of us here today, and there are a lot of you, and we want to get to all of your questions. We also want to make sure that all of your questions are available on the recording later for anyone or for you if you might be reviewing this at another time. So we ask that you send all those questions into the Q&A for us, and we will answer those at the end of the session. We will take the time to get to your questions for you, and any comments that you may have to share with us, please feel free to do that as well. Now, we do have some nonverbal feedback. I just saw some of you guys using that, so that's great. Feel free, if you like, I'll send all the nonverbal feedback you care to send. And if you guys are logged in on iPads or other tablet devices, then this should work just as well on those too. You have all the same controls available to you there. Now, for those of you that are familiar with us and our website, we do make available for you on our website all of our resources that we offer during our training, and they're available to you there under the resources tab at 30westip.com. Additionally, though, we make available to you this recording. If you do have technical issues or not able to stay for the whole presentation today, don't worry. We're going to have it for you on our YouTube channel, what we call our webcast archive. So feel free to use that link on our website, and you can go and check out this webcast as well as many of our other previous webcasts. Now, as you guys are aware, that's the big reason you're here. We're being joined today by Don Argentar at PlotNG. He has put together an outstanding presentation showing you guys how you can better use ForeFlight and all the tips and tools that are available in the iPad itself for your oceanic plotting needs. We do have a collaboration with Don and PlotNG, as well as with, and I do want to thank Phil, by the way, Phil Inman at ForeFlight, reaching out to help assist us with this as well. So we really appreciate this collaborative effort. I do want to let you guys know this is not a paid sponsorship. We're not selling you any services. So I don't want you to have that impression that that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make you guys more aware of the tools that you already have available to you. And Don is one of those super smart guys that you want on your team. So I'm glad that he's here presenting this material for you guys. And if you guys do have questions, don't hesitate to ask, because he's going to be the better one to answer those than I will, but I'll certainly try in the future if it comes to that. All right. Well, with that being said, then what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn off my camera and stop flapping my gums, and I'll let Don take the helm. And then if you have questions, feel free, send them via the QA, and we'll get to those questions at the end so that we can have them on the recording.
Thanks, Joe. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Don Argentar, and I'm with PlotNG. If you're unfamiliar with PlotNG, PlotNG is the premier oceanic electronic plotting service that integrates with ForeFlight. Full disclosure, I have no affiliation with the FAA, ICAO, ForeFlight, or any international trip provider service. While I will be using PlotNG to help demonstrate concepts and tips for oceanic operators, this is not a product advertisement or a tutorial about our service. Today's webcast is entirely about ways you can leverage ForeFlight to make your job easier while flying oceanic routes. If you've had the opportunity to participate in one of our PlotNG live Zoom demonstrations, you may recognize some of today's material. We'll be adding quite a bit more context to that conversation because we can spend the entire time on these topics. As a bonus, I'll be sharing some introductory tips about iOS shortcuts. This free app from Apple comes with every iPad and is key to automating many common tasks. This is advanced stuff, so don't fret if you find it a bit challenging. My intent is to simply introduce you to some of the awesome power you have available on your iPads. How you choose to use it is entirely up to you. I'd like to present a quick overview about the topics we'll be covering today. The first topic, and by far the most important one, is Apple Share. Apple Share is represented by the Send To icon. This icon appears in quite a few places within ForeFlight and is the tool you will use to move information between ForeFlight tasks or out of ForeFlight and into another app. Track logs are used to save your gross navigation error checks. You may know them as 10-minute checks or 2-degree checks. Additionally, track logs also record your position, altitude, and ground speed, so if a pilot deviation inquiry should occur within 6 months of your trip, you can prove where you were. Time allows you to choose the format ForeFlight uses to display the current time, and this comes into play when performing your GNE checks. Think AC 9170B. You must precisely mark your position and annotate the time in Zulu. Coordinates allow you to choose the format ForeFlight uses to display latitudes and longitudes. As we'll soon see, there are several use cases where matching ForeFlight's format to your FMS's format is critical. Multiple Selections is a ForeFlight user interface option that allows you to turn on and off, or clutter and declutter map layers without having the menu repeatedly close and open between each selection. Mark Positions are the preferred ForeFlight tool to mark your present position on your course and add the time in Zulu. But there is much more you can do with this tool, and we'll explore some of these capabilities. We'll be demonstrating how to load a PlotNG route as opposed to manually entering your route into ForeFlight Route Editor. Besides sanitizing your planned route and making it fully ForeFlight compliant, PlotNG also includes crossing limitations and pre-populates your filed cruise altitude and airspeed, allowing you to pre-flight your flight plan with correct estimates of time, position, and distance. Flights is a powerful ForeFlight tool for planning a flight and calculating aircraft performance. But when using third-party international trip support provider, you might not feel the need to use this capability. It turns out that flights can be quite a handy tool to aggregate the individual components of your journey log and to provide later access to your flight's marked positions. Content Packs is a ForeFlight feature that allows third parties, such as PlotNG, to load custom data into the app. While we won't do a deep dive into Content Packs, the goal is to demonstrate how to clean up after yourself and maintain an orderly Maps layer drop-down menu. Portable GPS devices are terrific position source backups, and with optional built-in ADS-B in, can offer tremendous capability while operating in the US. If you use a portable device as a ForeFlight position source, there are some things you'll need to know to keep yourself safe and legal. No discussion would be complete without mentioning SAFA checks. If you're not familiar with the details, I'll show you how you can use ForeFlight to mitigate unexpected inquiries. We'll show you how you can use ForeFlight to provide you with an equivalent independent course and distance report. This tip is especially useful when you need to reroute. Please be mindful that course and distance validation is extremely important to the FAA. 30 West IP includes this topic in their initial training, and PlotNG generates a validation report with every trip kit and documents these techniques to supplement your SOPs. If you're not familiar with ForeFlight's Jeppesen-driven NOTAMs, now would be a good time to take a look at them. While airport NOTAMs are useful, the real value are the airspace NOTAMs. As we'll see later, in certain parts of the world, geopolitical airspace restrictions can be a handful to manage. This ForeFlight tool helps to alleviate much of the guesswork. AirDrop is the iOS tool of choice when you want to share data, particularly your master document, with other crew members. And AirDrop helps ensure that only one pilot will be entering data at a time. Saving data is what you do at the end of the flight. I'll show you the various data elements you will need to save for 6 months and several ways to accomplish this task. ForeFlight is extremely flexible in this regard. By using Send-To, you can share your ForeFlight data with virtually any iOS app capable of exchanging data. Lastly, because ForeFlight lacks any capability to directly facilitate aggregating and saving your journey log data, we'll introduce you to iOS shortcuts, and we will create 2 small scripts to show you how automation works. Should you lose track of which topic I'm talking about, simply refer to the section header at the top right corner of the current slide. On this slide, we're in the introduction section. So let's get started. There are 5 different ForeFlight settings that can help facilitate managing your oceanic plotting chart. Let's begin with track logs. From ForeFlight Mobile's Pilot's Guide, track log is an optional feature included with all ForeFlight subscriptions that allow pilots to record flights using the iPad or iPhone's built-in GPS or compatible external GPS. Track logs is a useful integrated debriefing tool that syncs to your account. A track log recording can be shared, viewed in other apps, and associated with logbook entries. Recordings capture GPS position, altitude, and ground speed data at a rate of once per second and are less than 300 kilobytes in size per hour. If connected to a supported external AHRS device, track logs records the flight's pitch and bank at the same rate. Track logs work hand in hand with mark positions. Again, from ForeFlight Mobile Pilot's Guide, markers are included in a track log recording during the flight and can be shared as part of the track log, viewed in a flight whose ETD and duration span the time when the marker was dropped, and exported from the flight as a KML or CSV file. The pins for positions marked during a particular flight are automatically hidden from the map 15 minutes after the end of flight. Translation: ForeFlight will erase your marked positions from the map screen 15 minutes after you land. The criteria for how ForeFlight detects a takeoff and a landing is a bit involved, and we'll refer you to their user manual for more information. Still, marked positions is the preferred solution. However, there are other acceptable precise ways to accomplish this goal. So if you don't have a ForeFlight subscription that provides marked positions tool, all is not lost. When performing gross navigation error checks, which you may refer to as 10-minute checks or 2-degree checks, AC 9170B requires that you precisely mark your position on a plotting chart and annotate that mark with the time in Zulu. We're saying precisely because when it comes to ForeFlight, the FAA wants you to enter the latitude and longitude of the G&E present position, either manually or automatically, not by drawing an X with your finger or with an Apple Pencil. Why? Because ForeFlight does not display a zoom scale on the map screen, and even with an underlying oceanic chart, it's not really possible to determine the accuracy of a hand-drawn position. So, to solve the problem of marked positions disappearing after you land, we'll let track logs help us out. Think of marked positions as push pins that you place on your chart when you perform a G&E check, and track logs as a plastic box to hold those push pins. Because track logs also save your position, altitude, and ground speed every second, you also get an analytical backup to your exact location at every point during your flight. And this data can be used to precisely validate your flight path in the unlikely event you are the subject of a pilot deviation inquiry. To turn on track logs, tap More at the lower right-hand corner of the ForeFlight screen, then tap Settings at the upper right-hand corner of the pop-up menu. If you have any experience with ForeFlight, you know that there are a bajillion settings. Let's see how we can find the track log settings quickly. At the top of the screen, there is a search box containing the word Filter. Note the magnifying glass at the left side of the field. Tap in that box to search for a setting by keyword. Type the word Track in the search box. You'll notice that ForeFlight displays 3 different groups of options: Map View, Track Log, and Preferences. We're interested in the settings contained within the second group, Track Log. We want to enable Start-Stop Control and enable Auto Start-Stop. Enable Start-Stop Control will place an icon on the map screen that allows you to manually start and stop the track log recording feature. And it also presents a flight timer that counts up when the track log is being captured. Enable Auto Start Stop tells ForeFlight to automatically start track logging when a takeoff is detected and stop track logging when a landing is detected. Again, there are several other criteria regarding position sources and operating conditions that factor into ForeFlight's determination of when a flight begins and ends. We recommend that you turn on Enable Start-Stop Control to monitor its status, just in case ForeFlight's automatic track logging feature does not operate as expected. This is an example of a shortened track log which displays the track data together with a single marked position. The marked position is the green upside-down teardrop, and in this example is located on the right side of the course line. Back to the settings screen. If we tap in the search box, erase the word track, and enter the word time. We see two groups of options, annotations and preferences. We're interested in the bottom group, units/time. Tap units/time. There are two settings of interest. The first is times. You'll notice on the right side the current mode is displayed, and in this example it shows Zulu time. So tap times, and we recommend that you select Zulu time. Of course it makes the most sense for pilots, but this setting also controls the time zone ForeFlight uses when displaying a time. When you drop a marked position, the default marker flag will contain the time displayed in the time format selected. Tap the Units Time back button at the top left corner of the screen. Then tap Coordinates. The Coordinates option, if set incorrectly, can cause you a world of confusion. The concept is simple but requires a little explaining. When you enter fixes into ForeFlight, for example in the route editor, you simply type the name of the fix. If you were to enter a fix as defined by its latitude and longitude, ForeFlight supports location entry in one of 6 different formats. But when ForeFlight displays a latitude and longitude, it will use the coordinate format you select in this setting. At first blush, this might not seem like a big deal, but consider the situation when you are performing a G&E check using a portable GPS. Because the GPS is a non-certified position source, you will need to validate your location against your non-steering FMS. Validating your location means simultaneously displaying your present position in ForeFlight and your FMS. If the display format in ForeFlight does not match the display format in your FMS, you will be at the same location, but the latitudes and/or longitudes may not match. The second option, degrees, minutes, hundredths of minutes, has as its last 2 digits 0 to 99. Whereas the third option, degrees, minutes, seconds, has as its last 2 digits 0 to 59. What you need to do as a pre-flight action is to confirm that ForeFlight is set to the display format that correctly matches your FMS's display format. Consider the scenario where you are located at a half-degree waypoint. ForeFlight might display the last 2 digits as 30, but your FMS might display the last 2 digits as 50. They're both correct, but you'll be comparing apples to oranges. In this example, you'll notice that both latitude and longitude end in digits that are less than 59, so it's not possible to distinguish between options 2 and 3. So you decide to pull up a different page on your FMS and try your luck with a different fix. It looks like we found a longitude that has a suffix greater than 59. So we now know that it has to be option 2, degrees, minutes, and hundredths of minutes. But in fact, you just wasted a bunch of time. It turns out that if you simply observed the decimal point, regardless of the numerical suffix, it has to be option 2. Okay, let's talk about multiple selections. To find this option, go back to the map screen and tap the map setting or gear icon. You'll need to swipe the list of options up until you get to the bottom of the list. Multiple selections is the bottommost on-off toggle. If it's off, turn it on. Multiple selections is a user interface tool that allows you to tap multiple options on the layer dropdown without the menu opening and closing in between selections. You'll notice we're displaying some custom PlotNG layers at the bottom of the right column. PlotNG partitions the plotting chart data into small digestible chunks so you can customize the amount of clutter or declutter on your map display to your liking. If this option were off, then every time you tapped a different layer, the menu would close and you would have to tap on it to drop it down before selecting yet another layer. With this option enabled, the drop-down layer will remain opened until you have selected all the layers you wish to turn on or off. Above the multiple selections option is the marked position option. Be sure to turn this on. Marked positions is the preferred tool we'll use to perform our gross navigation error check. As you turn on marked positions, you should see the upside-down teardrop tool at the left edge of your map display. When flying, you'll use this icon to initiate your GNE check. By the way, we refer to the gross navigation error check as a GNE check for two reasons. First, it's consistent with the FAA's terminology. And second, PlotNG supports both 10-minute and 5-minute checks. GNE is simply a way to encompass all the different types of checks under one roof. Using PlotNG to provide some context, we'll turn on the GNE 10 layer and display suggested 10-minute check locations. These locations are denoted with a yellow bullseye icon and accompanying label. GNE 10A, as in this example, means 10-minute gross navigation error check alpha, or the first oceanic check along your route of flight. PlotNG calculates where to place these suggested GNE check locations based on, among other things, whether the fix is oceanic, think Class 2 airspace, sort of, whether the fix is within the service volume of a ground-based nav aid, and whether the leg is longer than 10 minutes at cruise airspeed. The procedure is the same whether you use paper charts or ForeFlight. Start your timer when you cross a fix, then when 10 minutes or 2 degrees elapses, tap the marked position icon. When you tap an icon, a ForeFlight pop-up will appear on the right side of the screen. An inverted green marked position will be precisely placed on your map, and a label will appear with the time in Zulu. By default, the cursor will appear in the notes box at the bottom of the pop-up form. You may enter any data you like in this field, such as a new ATS clearance, some weather notes, maybe a note for your mechanics to check something after you land. Note that the location, altitude, and speed are displayed in blue. You can tap on any of these data elements to edit them. The latitude and longitude are displayed using the format you just selected in Settings. If you are fortunate and your aircraft is equipped with Wi-Fi and your ARINC 429 data bus is connected to the local area network, then the non-steering FMS position data will be sent to your iPad, and this is good because it is a certified data source. You could simply tap the Save button at the top right corner of the pop-up and your GNE check would be complete. 2 finger taps, mark position, then Save. But if you use a portable GPS source, such as a Bad Elf or a Stratus, etc., then you should include a couple of extra steps. After tapping the marked position icon and viewing the pop-up form, bring up your present position on your non-steering FMS and compare your FMS location to your ForeFlight position. This is why it's so important to get the ForeFlight latitude-longitude display format to match your FMS format. You want to be comparing apples to apples. If the two coordinates match, then take a snapshot of the non-steering FMS display. There is no regulatory requirement to do this, but if you are the subject of a SAFA check, this is the quickest way to prove where you were and which data source you used for your plotting chart. Back to the pop-up form. An oft overlooked field is the first entry with the label Name. By default, it's blank, and when it's blank, ForeFlight will display the time in Zulu on the flag associated with that marked position, which we just dropped. As a pro tip, whatever you type in this field will replace the time in Zulu on the map screen. We always recommend re-entering the time in Zulu, followed by the total fuel quantity on board, and then followed by the delta fuel as compared to your master document. You'll then be able to visually follow your fuel burn trend on your map screen. We always recommend re-entering the time in Zulu because as per AC 9170B, you are required to annotate that data on your plotting chart. Then tap Save in the upper right-hand corner of the pop-up form. And this is what a final mark position looks like. Easy peasy. At this point, you should zoom out a little to display your marked position plus one additional fix on either side of that marked position. Then take a screenshot. Again, this has nothing to do with any regulatory requirement. It is a simple precaution to help you out with a SAFA check. As we'll see later, there are 3 SAFA checklist items that are specific to oceanic charts. Should an inquiry be made regarding your position with respect to a specific fix, you will be able to show the inspector a screenshot of the fix in question without any other data, email that picture, which is considered a printable document, and you will have satisfied that inquiry in a matter of seconds. There are basically 4 ways to load a route into ForeFlight. Send it via ForeFlight dispatch, which means that you are using ForeFlight as your provider. AirDrop the route from another iPad. Manually enter the route using ForeFlight's interactive route editor. Or you can use a service such as PlotNG to generate a ForeFlight compatible route to automatically load into ForeFlight. We use the word compatible because if you were to cut and paste the route from your provider's flight plan PDF, it might not load properly into ForeFlight. At PlotNG, we've seen some routes that ForeFlight does not know how to import. PlotNG rewrites those routes to make them compatible with ForeFlight. What you're seeing is a sample PlotNG trip kit. Notice the magnetic course and distance report for the oceanic segment of your route. PlotNG includes an email attachment to automate loading your route, including waypoint crossing limitations directly into ForeFlight, all with the simple tap of a button. After tapping the Load Route attachment, you'll see a screen that confirms the route. Tap the Load Route into ForeFlight button. PlotNG breaks this into 2 steps because we need to support all of the major iOS email applications such as Apple Mail, Gmail, Outlook, etc. And yes, they all work slightly differently. After tapping the blue button, depending on the email app that you're using, you may see an additional pop-up asking if you wish to leave your email application and open ForeFlight. Simply tap Open. And your route will be imported directly into ForeFlight's route editor. Notice the crossing limitation at JUPI, 489 knots at flight level 410. You will see the same information displayed as a flag when you zoom in to view JUPI on the map screen. It makes for terrific situational awareness. Pilots will usually load their route into ForeFlight before boarding their aircraft. To facilitate pre-flight planning and confirmation of distances, time, speeds, winds, etc., PlotNG also initializes your filed cruise airspeed and your filed cruising altitude. More often than not, you will file your cruise airspeed in Mach. However, ForeFlight only accepts knots or kilometers per hour entered into the route editor. PlotNG transparently solves this problem by handling all the data conversions for you. PlotNG, it just works. Once you have your route loaded, you'll need to prepare ForeFlight to aggregate your journey log data. There are a number of ways to accomplish this, but in the interest of keeping things simple and showing you how you can leverage ForeFlight, tap Send To, then tap Flights. ForeFlight will create a new flight. That flight will appear at the top of the list and also appears in reverse blue. This step is exactly the opposite of what would happen were you to use ForeFlight Dispatch. In that case, your flight data would be pushed to your iPad into the flight screen, and the route would be subsequently loaded. Of course, you are welcome to use any of the wonderful performance-based tools that ForeFlight provides on this screen to calculate runway distances, climb and descent profiles, weight and balance, etc. But our sole purpose for pushing the route to flights is to have ForeFlight create an empty area to store your data. Think of this as a new empty manila folder that will hold your 6-month data. You know that this folder is empty because ForeFlight displays a 0 after the paperclip icon. We'll talk more about this later. Let's switch gears and talk about content packs. We're not going to go into the particulars of content packs, except to say that this is a ForeFlight feature that allows third parties, such as PlotNG, to import custom data into its ecosystem. You can navigate to this screen by tapping More at the bottom right corner, and then tap Custom Content in the list of options. You'll notice on the left column there are 3 custom contact areas that are always present in ForeFlight: charts, map layers, and waypoints. Under the Content Packs section, you may see ForeFlight Airport construction notices. If you are a PlotNG user, you may also see PlotNG TripKit content packs below that. If you see custom data on your map screen and you don't know how or why it got there, this is a good place to start. Should you wish to remove a custom content pack, tap the PlotNG TripKit to select it. The right column will show all of the components contained in the content pack, and to delete it, tap Delete Content Pack. This button is always found at the bottom of the right column, and you may need to scroll down to find it. This step is important because if you don't get into the habit of removing non-current content pack data, you may end up with multiple sets of custom layers presented in your map screen layer menu. In this example, these are the custom layers that, when tapped, will display the corresponding data contained in the custom content pack layer. While it's true that the vast majority of PlotNG layer names may have the same descriptive layer as in other content packs, for example contingency, the ETP layers will probably be different. Again, if you see multiple groups of layers on the drop-down menu because you have multiple content packs installed, this could indeed get confusing and you might accidentally tap to display the wrong data while flying. We always recommend as an SOP that you remove all non-essential content packs prior to departure to avoid this mistake. ForeFlight has an elaborate set of screens and menus to manage multiple position data sources. We'd like to keep this simple and highlight a few items regarding the use of portable GPS devices. First and foremost, a portable GPS device is not a certified data source. We're showing 2 commonly used devices, a Bad Elf and a Stratus. But these are far from the only devices you can use as a ForeFlight compatible external GPS source. Portable devices are terrific backup devices and serve to provide an inexpensive alternative source of data should your cockpit go dark while flying. Some devices contain AHRS and ADS-B in. Some devices only have GPS. In most, if not all devices, the GPS is WAAS, and many of these devices can receive US GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, QZSS, and BeiDou constellation data. But the question that most often comes up is, can I use my iPad's built-in GPS as the non-certified data source? And the answer is, it depends. Electrically heated windshields tend to interfere with the iPad's built-in receiver, and it's not uncommon for pilots to report their internal GPS losing reception. An external device can be placed near a side window or in a crew quarter away from the primary source of interference. Of course, your mileage may vary, so a little experimentation will go a long way while you figure out the best solution for your aircraft. However, if your iPad is not equipped with LTE, that is, cell service, then there is no internal GPS and you will need to use an external portable device if your aircraft is not equipped with Wi-Fi and an ARINC 429 data bus interconnect. As we said earlier, even without any GPS source, you can still use your iPad in ForeFlight to do electronic plotting, but the manual technique is a little more involved. To determine which GPS source you're using, tap the gear icon, then tap the device you wish to query. Note that the device name is displayed at the top of the pop-up menu. This is the device information page. Remember, ADS-B in data is not available in oceanic airspace, yet. Swipe up the pop-up menu to scroll to the bottom. These settings are particular to the Stratus 2S. Your menu options may vary. You need to be sure that ForeFlight understands you are using this device to provide GPS position data, and if available, AHRS data. If your portable also has a pressure altitude sensor, you'll need to turn on this setting alerting ForeFlight that your cabin is pressurized. Otherwise, depending on which source is providing the pressure data, that is the portable device, ARINC data, or some other avionics, the information displayed on ForeFlight's instrument panel may not be what you were expecting to see. About those SAFA checks. SAFA, Safety Assessment of Foreign Aircraft, and SACA, Safety Assessment of Community Aircraft, are components of the RIP, Ramp Inspection Program. As you all know, this program is not voluntary, which means that participation on your part is mandatory. And it's not you that's being inspected, it's your aircraft. There are 53 areas that can be evaluated, and one of those areas directly impacts what you do with ForeFlight. Area A21, Journey Logbook, Technical Log, or equivalent. Within Area A21, there are 3 checklist items that are specific to oceanic plots. When an EU ramp inspection results in a finding identified within a checklist item, it is categorized as a 1, 2, or 3. The category is dependent upon the magnitude of the deviation from the international requirements and the impact on the safety associated with the noncompliance. A Category 1 finding is considered a minor deviation and is reported to the pilot in command. A Category 2 finding is considered a significant deviation and is reported to the operator and the FAA. A Category 3 finding is one that has a major impact on safety and is also reported to the operator and the FAA. Category 3 findings are expected to be corrected by the operator before the aircraft departs, either by correcting the deficiency or by imposing limitations or restrictions on the operation of the aircraft. These limitations may be imposed by the inspecting authority. In other words, a Category 1 finding is the least problematic. With a Category 2 or 3 finding, the FAA gets involved. And with a Category 3 finding, an inspector may ground your aircraft. The strategies I've outlined in this webcast, most notably taking screenshots, will go a long way to mitigating this low-hanging fruit. Note that the 3 checklist items are Category 2 findings, so in the worst case, if your journey logs are found to be deficient, at least you won't get grounded. On the left is a sample PlotNG trip kit email. Note the independent magnetic course and distance report. PlotNG only provides this report for the oceanic portion of your route. You can find the entire report in your master document, but you can also have ForeFlight provide this information too, and it's super easy. Previously, to get ForeFlight to display magnetic course instead of magnetic heading, you would have had to either tell ForeFlight that your departure date was more than 2 weeks in the future, or you could muck with your crew's airspeed to fake it out. This was prone to all sorts of operational errors and was not a recommended technique. Fortunately, ForeFlight added this much-needed capability. So now you can interactively get the magnetic course and distance just by tapping on the map screen. Normally, we're accustomed to tapping a fix to learn more about it. Notice in the screenshot on the right, there is a large cursor under the midpoint of the route segment. By tapping on any route leg in between its defining end waypoints, ForeFlight will display a pop-up window with the leg distance and magnetic course. Notice in this case that PlotNG and ForeFlight's calculations agree perfectly. This is an excerpt from the master document. Note that the master document and ForeFlight's calculations agree perfectly. However, when we slide the map screen to the left and select the next leg segment, PlotNG and ForeFlight agree, but the master document and ForeFlight do not agree. Regardless of which independent data source you compare against your FMS, the distances should always agree or be off by no more than 1 nautical mile. However, the magnetic course can be quite different between your independent source and your FMS. This is a deeply technical issue and has to do with how the magnetic variation data is sourced. We cannot speak for any FMS manufacturers, international trip planning providers, or ForeFlight. What we can tell you is that PlotNG calculates the magnetic variation using the World Magnetic Model every time a trip kit is generated. This helps ensure that you get the best possible answer every time. This is an extremely important feature of ForeFlight, and here's why. Consider the scenario where you are given a reroute. At PlotNG, we tend to think of reroutes in 2 different ways. First, you may be issued a new oceanic entry or exit waypoint, plus 1 or 2 additional fixes to help you rejoin your route. Or you might happen upon an unexpected weather event that requires an ATS clearance to circumnavigate it. In this case, we recommend that you simply accept your CPDLC reroute clearance and then manually update your ForeFlight route either by editing the waypoints in the route editor or graphically editing the route on the map screen. Or second, you get a full reroute clearance. In this case, we always recommend, if at all possible, to contact your provider and have a new flight plan sent to the flight deck. With a full reroute, all bets are off as to what the winds are actually doing, and no one wants a wet footprint. PlotNG provides a custom graphical reroute tool with every trip kit to relocate the ETPs in the event you cannot download a new computed flight plan. If a new flight plan is sent to the cockpit, then you can use the new master document to revalidate the magnetic courses and distances in your FMS. But even if you do not get a new master document, you are still required to revalidate the magnetic courses and distances, and ForeFlight's graphical tool on the map screen is by far the easiest and most powerful way to accomplish this task. ForeFlight's graphical NOTAMs are an underused feature. The NOTAMs map layer includes geographic and obstacle NOTAMs. It's a real good idea to verify your route against these NOTAMs prior to departure to make sure you won't be entering airspace you're not supposed to be in. AirDrop is an interesting feature and serves several purposes. The use case you may be familiar with is sharing your route with another iPad user. However, AirDrop can also be used to exchange your master document between PNFs. It's best practice to only edit one copy of the master document during a flight, and this feature helps enforce this practice. As it happens, there are a few ways to share a document between iPads. If the document is already in flights, then you can AirDrop it directly, and this is admittedly the simplest way to share the document. However, there are distinct advantages to sharing a document that is contained in ForeFlight documents. First, tap Send To. You'll be presented with three options. Yes, you can select the first option and send the document from flights. This is actually a good idea because you'll also be saving a copy or a snapshot of your work in progress. The second option, email, won't really help you. But if you didn't want to send your document to flights, then the third option, print, turns out to be surprisingly useful. By tapping print, ForeFlight will prepare your document and send it to the iOS print spooler. It's more than likely that you won't have any air printers in the range of your iPad, and that's okay. What you're looking for are the mini page images on the left edge of the pop-up. By pinch zooming on any of the displayed pages, iOS will effectively re-render the document internally and show you a mock-up of the new document. You are now viewing the newly rendered document in the iOS document viewer. So even though ForeFlight is running in the background, you're actually now in iOS. Notice there is yet another Send To icon on the top right of the screen. Tap Send To. And just to recap, we've tapped Send To twice to get to this point. And the drop-down menu that is now displayed is from iOS, not ForeFlight. The first option is AirDrop. Because you're in iOS, the menu will display any apps capable of receiving this document. Don't forget that you can scroll the icon list left or right to find additional apps. Tap AirDrop and send the master document to your colleague. When the AirDrop is complete, you'll be back in ForeFlight. What's particularly interesting is that everything we've shown so far was accomplished with an iPad and your trusty finger. An Apple Pencil was not required. You can certainly use one, but again, it's not required. ForeFlight has a neat feature that lets you mark up the map screen with freehand drawing annotations. If this helps, then by all means use it. But we'd like to remind you again that the FAA does not want you to use an Apple Pencil to draw or annotate your G&E checks. And this brings us to one of the most important steps in managing your journey log data, saving the data. More specifically, saving your data for 6 months. These 5 aggregations represent the minimum data you should save in your journey log. Screenshots, master documents, marked positions, track log, and if you use our service, the PlotNG trip kit, which contains the route and the custom content pack. The screenshots include G&E checks, the entire oceanic route at the end of the flight, reroute course and distance analysis, and non-steering FMS if you're using non-certified position source. The master document may have multiple versions that you've saved during the trip. The marked positions are exported from ForeFlight. The track log is exported from ForeFlight. And the PlotNG trip kit, which contains the route, oceanic tracks, ETPs, reroute solutions, and G&E markers. Of course, you may have many other documents such as company-specific procedures, LOAs, reservations, fuel receipts, etc. that you wish to include. There are a plethora of ways to save your data, and how and where you choose to save your data will inform your SOPs moving forward. This decision may well be influenced by any IT department requirements in your organization. But if you are free from that constraint, then you might consider one of these options. By the way, there is no one right way or wrong way to store your data. However, the overarching idea is that you should keep your 6-month data in a location that is entirely under your own control and is independent of where it originated. The first and obvious option is ForeFlight. If you use ForeFlight Dispatch, you'll have a terrific set of tools to push data to and pull data from your fleet iPads. This is a fully integrated solution, but you can still use any of the other tools we're about to discuss. The second is ForeFlight Flights. Every ForeFlight subscription has the Flights option, so you'll be able to take advantage of aggregating your data during their flight, and then send the data off-site for long-time storage when time permits. I'll note that data saved in Flights is automatically synced to your ForeFlight account. You can log into ForeFlight web account on your desktop computer and download your saved data to your desktop. We are not aware of any method that allows you to download all of the data associated with a flight from ForeFlight in a single operation, so if you have many data files, be prepared to do a lot of clicking. You can use any of the free or paid online storage services. These are but 5 of the services available: Amazon S3, Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, and Microsoft Teams. As it happens, you can link an Amazon S3 Box or Dropbox folder to your ForeFlight account and access those services directly from within ForeFlight. I've listed at least 2 other popular options because you should know that if iOS supports it, then of course you can move your data into and out of your iPad. Saving data is absolutely not limited to what can be integrated within ForeFlight. Another popular option is to set up a free email account, for example, Gmail or Outlook, and save your data via email. An important consideration is that many email service providers limit attachments to 25 megabytes or less. Screenshots can be rather large, so you may need to save multiple emails for each trip. The good news is that this step can be easily automated. The iOS Files app is surprisingly useful and flexible. While you can certainly store your 6-month data on your iPad, we really don't recommend doing that because your data should be accessible to anyone that requires such access. That is, the data should be kept in a single location, not scattered across multiple iPads. However, it's very simple to save any exported data from ForeFlight into a file on your iPad. Then at the end of the flight, it's super easy to transfer that entire folder in a single action to an offline storage service. Lastly, iOS fully supports Samba, SFTP, and HTTPS protocols, which in layman's terms means that you can programmatically move data around the internet, availing yourselves of an impressive array of online services. These service provides by far the most powerful solutions to offline storage, but they do require some advanced skills. And that brings us to our last topic, iOS shortcuts. We think it's important to peek behind the curtain and see the kind of power that you have available on your iPad, and it's for free. iOS Shortcuts is an Apple app that comes with every iPad. This app allows you to simply and easily create a script that allows you to automate a sequence of steps. Shortcuts can accomplish a surprising diversity of tasks on your iPad. This peek into iOS is only intended to show you what's possible, not how to use the app. To save time, and because this is only a high-level preview, there are some steps that I'll describe, but not actually show. To create a little context, let's go to ForeFlight's flight page and tap Send at the upper right-hand corner. Normally, you would see a bunch of app icons across the top, but for this screenshot, I've scrolled the menu to the bottom. What you are viewing are a bunch of menu items, beginning with screenshots and master document and ending with track log and new flights. These menu items are the names of the custom shortcuts we created. When creating the shortcut, we told iOS that we wanted them to appear in these drop-down menus, and we associated a custom icon which appears at the right edge of the shortcut name. For example, New Flight has a folder icon, so iOS Shortcuts allows us to integrate our scripts into other apps, including ForeFlight. The image on the right is the iOS shortcut icon as displayed on your iPad, so now you know how to find this app. The screenshot on the left is the menu or directory of shortcuts we created for this demonstration. Here's the problem statement. We want to simplify the process of saving our ForeFlight journey log data into a folder that we can then later copy to an online storage account. The information we save should be kept separate from data aggregated in other flights. Because ForeFlight is but one app on our iPad, we'll start by manually creating a folder called, of all things, ForeFlight. We only need to do this once. All of the data we accumulate will be saved in folders that appear underneath our ForeFlight folder. Please keep in mind that these scripts do not contain all of the error checking you would expect in a production quality software package. We'll need a script to create a new folder with a unique name. We'll use the flight's recall number for the unique file name. The first step is to create a new iOS shortcut. In the shortcut settings, we'll name our shortcut New Flight. We'll assign the color purple to the shortcut, and we'll associate a folder icon with that shortcut. When the shortcut is created, we'll tell the script to accept any data from the calling app. In this case, there won't be any data, so this step really does nothing other than to set up the environment. We then need to create a pop-up that asks the pilot to enter the recall number. This script is only intended to run once at the beginning of the flight. Once the folder is set up, we'll just continue using it to save our data until we choose a different flight recall number. This is the tricky part. We'll want to save that recall number someplace, so when one of the companion scripts runs, we can figure out which folder we're currently using. To do this, we first need to create a script variable to hold the recall number just entered. If the recall number is blank, then ignore it. Otherwise, create a folder in the ForeFlight folder and name it with the recall number just entered, and end the conditional. Then we need to get the name of the recall number to save in a text file for later retrieval. Again, this recall number is the name of the folder just created. There are a number of ways to accomplish this step in shortcuts, but this is the simplest way, and we'll see why shortly. Last, we need to save the recall number, so these 8 steps are but one way to initialize a new holding cell for the data we are about to save from ForeFlight. Now we need to create one of the associated scripts. In this case, this script will save ForeFlight marked positions. Similarly, as before, we'll name this script marked positions, we'll give it a light blue color, and we'll associate the foot tracks icon. The first 3 steps of this script are identical for all the other helper scripts. If, when this script is called, no data is present, then the script should simply stop and display an error message. Remember, since we're saving marked positions, the script expects to be provided with those marked positions. In this case, absent any input data, we'll simply tell the pilot that no marked positions were found and stop. Next, we'll retrieve the text file containing the recall number so we know where to save the marked positions. Then, we'll read the variable recall from that file. Using the save technique in the previous script allows us to read this variable very easily. Last, we'll save the data. In this case, the marked positions into the folder we created with the new flight script, and we'll name this data set marked positions. This is what the contents of the ForeFlight folder looks like after 4 new flights have been created at various previous times. This is the file that the new flight script created, and it contains the recall number that was last entered. If we were to have entered recall number uniform 9876, The new flight script would have created this folder and named it Uniform 9876. You should expect one new folder for each flight. The way you use this script is to go to Flights, select the current flight in the left column. It should be the first flight in the list at the top, and you'll know it's selected when it's displayed in inverse blue. On the right column, scroll to the bottom and tap on Marked Positions. You won't see marked positions listed as an option if no marked positions were dropped. Then, at the top right corner, tap Send To. When the Send To list pops up, scroll down and tap on Marked Positions. That will cause this script to run. Once you correctly set up your scripts, you never have to worry about the details. I've opened the Uniform 9876 folder to show you what I've saved. You'll notice that each file has a file name that describes its content, and the multiple screenshot file names each have unique numerical suffixes. Because everything is neatly contained in a single folder, if you were to use an online storage service such as Dropbox, you would only need to drag and drop this folder into Dropbox, and everything contained within it would automatically synchronize. Or better yet, create a script called endFlight and let it take care of moving your data into Dropbox. I hope you've enjoyed this webcast and maybe even learned one or two new ForeFlight skills. I'm going to bring Joe back online and open the floor to your questions and comments.
Let's see here. John asks question, and it's been upvoted 7 times. So good. Next time, can we send a demo flight plan that we are using so we can import and follow along? Interesting.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. Thanks for that suggestion, John. That's something I hadn't even actually considered. So we do appreciate that. I saw that there was one that was answered, and I'm going to go ahead and read it just so we can make sure we have it on the recording as well. Steve, excellent. Good morning, Steve. Good question here. Steve asks, is this a midpoint or a start point of the leg mag course? And Don replied, PlotNG displays the initial fix, and so does ForeFlight. Very good. So that would be the departure point or the start. Excellent question. Let's see. Rob says we'll need to watch the iOS shortcuts a few more times. Absolutely. No problem, Rob. And we will have this available for you. The full recording, of course, without the interruption, we'll have that for you on our YouTube channel. So you guys will be able to go back and check that out as many times as you like. And we appreciate that. I don't have, Helder says, I don't have the option contents on my ForeFlight. How does he get that option contents?
So I think he may be referring to Content Pack, and it's possible that you may have a subscription in ForeFlight that does not support that feature. So check your subscription that you can find in Settings account and compare it to the list of options that ForeFlight provides on their website.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. And I will go ahead and hit that one. Let's see. David. Hello, David. David asks, how can we learn more about the shortcuts? Don, you're the...
So I think the short answer to that is stay tuned, because 30 West IP in partnership with PlotNG may very well be producing a series of tutorials on that very topic.
Yes, indeed. An ongoing project, and hopefully that is something that you guys will find helpful. And if you do think you would, certainly let us know that's something you'd be interested in seeing. I do see some thumbs up on that, so that's great to hear. Excellent. Let's see. Coleman, welcome. Coleman asks, is there an easier way to edit the master document digitally than tapping and typing?
So you can enter, pardon me, you can certainly edit the master document within ForeFlight, and we demonstrate that quite regularly. The other thing you can do too is certainly edit the master document in a third-party application. The reason that we recommend doing it within ForeFlight is because we think it's extremely important to just keep within a single application while you're flying. It makes operating your iPad a lot simpler and reduces the possibility of your iPad crashing. but you need to find a solution that works fine for you, and there is no one correct way to do this.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. William asks if he's able to watch it again, and if so, where? And I'll go ahead and bring that out for you. I'll pull up this slide. So William, what we have available for you and everybody on our website, you're more than welcome to go. It's going to be a little bit this afternoon, probably, before I get around to getting it actually done and published. But on our website, let me grab my pointer there, right here, this link on our main page will take you to the YouTube channel where this will be posted. So we appreciate that question. And yes, it will be available. Yep, same thing. Oh, no, wait. Is there going to be a video on just creating the scripts we just talked about? Well, that could be part of the tips and tricks project that Don just mentioned. Maybe we could include that into a short tutorial. But again, this entire video will be available for you. You can rewatch that, stop it and rewatch it again many times to get that part until we do get that separate tutorial. Don, do you have any offerings on that as well? Anything on your?
Oh, we do not. We happen to offer at PlotNG tutorials through Zoom sessions, training sessions on how to do this type of thing. But moving forward, I think we'd like to partner up with 30 West IP and take advantage of their terrific training resources.
Excellent.
So send us an email, let us know exactly what your needs are, and we'll put that into the programming, and we'll see what we can schedule up for you in the very near future.
Perfect. Thanks. Guy's asking, please go through the process to upload the flight plan from the ISP email to ForeFlight. Would you like
you like me to do a live demo on that?
Sure. Have at it.
Okay.
You want, I'll stop my sharing. You can
I'm going to share my screen. Okay. And Joe, why don't you stop your video for a moment?
All right, I'll do that. Give you guys the most screen room possible.
Okay, so I am now sharing my iPad screen, and you should see, let's get out of here. Okay, so this is an email that you would have received from PlotNG. And let's wait for that to come up. Give it 1 second. There we go. This is an email that you would have received from PlotNG, and the way that you get this is taking your provider's email, which contains the flight plan and all the other information that would be in that PDF. You ship it off to our service. Within about a minute, you get back an email that looks like this. It's called a trip kit. It contains the 2 attachments at the bottom, and Guy asked specifically, how do you load the flight plan into ForeFlight? So it's a 2-step process. I'm going to tap load route. It will then bring up a screen. You hit the blue button. I'll tap open. And it should load right into ForeFlight. This will be appearing on your screen momentarily. And there's the route. So it loads it in. Again, you can take a look at the second pill, which is JUPI. That's an example of a crossing limitation. This is what I was talking about in the webinar. You can see the flag for JUPI appear on the screen. It's right next to the triangle at the end of the first route segment, and it replicates the crossing limitation on the screen. If you have any other questions about something you'd like to see on the demo, I'd be more than happy to bring back the iPad and show that as well. So, Joe, let's get back on camera and go through the rest of the questions.
Okay, very good. Let me grab my controls for that. All right. Well, this is interesting, Don. Apparently, when you took control, you kicked me out of host. So I'm unable to turn my camera back on, but that's okay.
Okay, hold on.
There we go. I see it now. Perfect. Thank you. I got it. Awesome. Good. Now, Chris is asking, where can he learn more about how you integrated the Shortcut app?
Chris, we're going to throw this back to the same 2 answers that we gave you before. There apparently seems to be a fair amount of interest in using shortcuts and integrating this with the ForeFlight environment. Stay tuned. 30 West IP and PlotNG are going to look into collaborating and producing a series of tutorials and videos to help you guys out.
Excellent. And it sounds like that may be quite well received. Okay, I am Jim answering your question for you there, and there's Don's contact info. So that was another one. Excellent. John says, will you provide an option for trip kits via a one-time subscription?
Okay, I'm not 100% sure what you're asking, so let me answer the question generically. PlotNG is a pay-as-you-go service, so you basically generate a trip kit and you will pay for it at the time that you generate it. If, however, you prefer to pre-purchase trip kits at a discount, you can certainly call our office. You got the number on the screen. We'll be happy to sell you packages so that you don't have to pay every single time, but you can pay in blocks of 25 trips. If that doesn't answer your question, please feel free to give us a call afterwards, and we'll be happy to talk to you individually.
Excellent. Thanks, Don. David's asking, does the international procedures at 30 West IP include PlotNG procedures and examples? We don't have we don't give great detail on it, David. When we do show screenshots, we address, of course, from our standpoint, what the FAA has approved us to do in our TSOC. So we address everything from the advisory circular standpoint, and then we give you extra additional little, info here. This is what it would look like. And PlotNG has agreed to allow us to use their imagery. So that's why we do show some of those examples as part of our collaboration in our courseware. But we don't exercise PlotNG as a live tool. And here I'm going to show you how to use it exactly. That would be more in Don's purview. But our courseware, we reference, we show you the license agreements we have in place. We have Jepson, ForeFlight, Airink Direct, PlotNG. We try to show you guys real stuff that you're going to be using and not just, generic made up stuff. Brennan, and thanks for the question, David. We appreciate it. And if you want to, we do have an example of what our courses look like available if you'd like that. Now, Brennan he's asking, is there a way to include a checklist into the trip kit or the master doc?
So there's two answers to that. The first answer is ForeFlight has a terrific checklist capability built in, and you can certainly upload or create your custom checklist in ForeFlight for immediate access. Or if you prefer, you can certainly create a checklist using any document preparation tool and upload it either as a document or a PDF into the document section of ForeFlight and view it that way. So you have different ways of handling it depending on what works for you.
Perfect. Bill's asking, is there a PlotNG user guide? And does it have the shortcut procedure listed in it?
Okay, so if you'd like to download a copy of the PlotNG user guide, please visit our website. The URL is on the screen. Scroll to the very bottom of the page, and there is a link to click to download the user guide, which is in PDF format. We do discuss shortcut procedures, but we do not go into a lot of detail for the obvious reason that iOS shortcuts is a feature of iOS. It's not actually part of oceanic plotting. But if you have any further questions about it that you'd like to delve into, again, please feel free to email or call us. We're happy to help.
Excellent. John's asking, as a PlotNG alpha tester and beta tester, what changes have been made recently to improve the service?
John, the list is too long given the amount of time we have available to us. So I'll just recommend that you might want to download a copy of the user guide, and you can probably compare what we have now against what you saw as an alpha and beta tester from 3 years ago. And I think you'll agree that there are significant features that have been added and enhanced.
Excellent. And Derek, along on that same time, or kind of thought, Derek he's making a comment for us. He's saying, as a 3-year user of PlotNG, he just wants to say that it is far more intuitive and seamless than it first appears. Furthermore, it greatly reduces housekeeping workload and enables you to focus more on aviate, navigate, communicate. So thanks for that feedback, Derek. Excellent. Another question here from Eric, not Derek this time, but Eric. Eric is saying there are several subscription levels with ForeFlight, business and individual. Do you have a minimum subscription level required for PlotNG to work?
So that's an excellent question. In simple terms, to the best of our knowledge, there are 5 levels of subscription that ForeFlight operates, 3 on the user or individual subscription level, and then 2 for the business users. All 3 individual subscription levels work fine with PlotNG. For the business, you need to use the Business Pro. The lowest tier business subscription level does not support the use of custom content packs. And that's the key thing. You want to be able to import the special data that we are constructing, which are basically your oceanic plot overlays. Without that, nothing's going to benefit you from PlotNG. So it's either get any one of the individual subscriptions or the pro version of the business plan, and you'll be fine.
Perfect. And Petri, I think we've answered this a couple of times now, asking about advanced tutorials and PlotNG. And Don, as Don mentioned, we are looking at working together to come up with some of these tutorials for you and have them available for you. But as far as any advanced tutorials currently, it would be reach out to Don directly. And Matthew asks, how do you submit contingency airports?
Matt, that's an excellent question, and it gets to the heart of how PlotNG operates. In short, you will take care of specifying your contingency airports when you work with your provider. Pardon me. The flight plan PDF that you get back from your provider, such as Universal, World Fuel as 2 examples, or even ForeFlight Dispatch, that contains a master document, an ICAO flight plan, and the ETPs. So we are actually reading that document and generating all of the data for you. You will have submitted the contingency airports when you have created your route before it even gets to PlotNG.
Excellent. All right. Well, that wraps up all the questions that I currently have. Don, do you have any wrap-up statements you would like to make?
No, I just would like to thank everyone for participating today, and a special shout out to 30 West IP. You guys are terrific. I think it's super important that we bring together the community to have these kind of conversations.
And we appreciate that. And that's exactly what the whole point of this is just to get information out. Again, we're not trying to sell you our products, but we just want to make you aware of what's available. And if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us. That's another thing we like to do, is to try to help answer your questions and just make ourselves an available resource to you. I see the claps and the thumbs up, and I really do appreciate it. We both do, all of us here at 30 West, as well as PlotNG, and for the good folks at ForeFlight as well, for allowing us, for helping advise us on some of this information too. So with that being said, no other questions that I can see as they've popped up. You guys, I really appreciate your patience, and thank you all. And we will have this again published on our YouTube, available for you in just a few hours. So please be safe out there. Do send any questions you might have. And if you guys have any suggestions for future webcasts or future topics you would like to see us address, please don't hesitate to send that too. You can always reach us there at the email on your screen. So with that being said, thank you guys again for joining us, and thank you for all the great participation, and you guys be safe out there. Take care.